Welcome to my panelists. This is indeed a quite intense roundtable we're going to have. The idea is for the next hour and 20 minutes to go through action from vision to action, and basically give recommendation for the report that will be sent to the organizers of the AI Action Summit. I'm very honored and happy to welcome you, Guillaume Avrin. You're part of the Directorate General for Enterprises. You are National Coordinator for Artificial Intelligence, French expert in AI, obviously, and robotics. You are overseeing the implementation of the National AI Strategy. So while Henri not being here, you will be the one we'll turn to when it comes to asking questions to the government. So be ready. Paul Labrogère, you are CEO of RRT Systemics, Accelerator of Digital Transformation, Technology Research Institute, RRT dedicated to the digital engineering of systems. We do have Romaric Redon. You are Operational Director at INITI, Toulouse Artificial and Natural Intelligence Institute. So basically, we already touched a little bit the point of space security, open source for aerospace. I do believe you will touch this question on industry again. We have with us as well, we're not going to introduce Alexandre Zapolsky. Everyone know him, but he's a founder and president of Linagora. I would even say the dad of Lucy to a certain extent. So thank you so much for hosting us here. And we have Charlène Biondi here. Thank you, Charlène, for being with us. Charlène is leading. So you are a doctor. You've been doing some research in the field. You're also an author. You published a book. I believe it was 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah, we're in 2025, so it was 3 years ago. Décoder une contre-histoire du numérique. I highly recommend that book. And you are researching the social impact of technology at Moody's, so focusing on blockchain and artificial intelligence. Okay, here we go. As we close this transformative gathering, this roundtable serves as a bridge between vision and action. Over the past session, we explored the vast potential of open source AI to democratize access, foster innovation, and address pressing global challenges. Now, it's time to distill this discussion into concrete recommendations, the hardest part. Solutions that not only inspire, but can also be implemented, hopefully within the next 6 months. After that, we won't have government anymore, so, let's make sure to be quick. This session is designed to synthesize the key ideas shared during the summit, focusing on scalable, actionable strategies for advancing open source AI. From improving accessibility and transparency to fostering collaboration between public and private sector, we'll identify tangible steps that address both immediate and long-term challenges. This solution will pave the way for more meaningful progress and establish a strong collaboration to collective action. So the outcome of this discussion will shape a manifesto to be presented at the AI Action Summit. It is not too late to do good. So let's start with key insight for the summit. What is the summit? I do believe all of us at the table are quite aware, but I'm not sure that everyone in the audience are kind of clear about what the summit is about. So Guillaume, would you mind tell us what it is and why is it important to have a day like this one ahead?
Thank you very much for the question. Thanks a lot to the organizers, to Linagora, and all the organizers of this event. Very happy to be here. So the Action Summit, so first of all, the date, it's the 10 and 11 of February. And you have also the scientific days 1 week before, dedicated to the science of artificial intelligence and all the topics associated with the summit. And so the reason why we with our international partners started this Action Summit is because you had the first summit that was organized in 2023 that was about the existential risk of artificial intelligence that was organized at Bletchley Park in the UK. Then you had another one that was organized in Seoul dedicated to the risk associated with misinformation, disinformation around the most advanced artificial intelligence models. And And so it was a very good diagnosis of what are the risks associated with these advanced AI models. But then we have to go from this diagnosis, from this analysis of the risk associated with AI towards action, right? Because we cannot just say, okay, we know there are risks, but I mean, we are continuing the same way without evaluating, without characterizing the artificial intelligence system we are deploying. So we need action. And this third summit, international summit on AI, is really about action. It's in the name of the summit, with 5 main areas where we need international collaboration if we want to establish the right trustworthy framework for the use and the deployment of artificial intelligence. So you have a track that is dedicated to AI for good, because it's very important to analyze the risk associated with AI, but when you evaluate the risk without evaluating the benefits, you are not able to take a decision regarding, do I want to deploy this technology or not? And I'm not inventing anything. It's really, you know, for example, in France, the Haute Autorité de Santé, the authority that is in charge of with social security to decide if a medical device, for example, is reimbursed and not by the social security. It's decided. They are evaluating not just the risk associated with the medical device, they also evaluate the benefits to evaluate the ratio benefit risk. So we need to be able to evaluate the benefits for to fight against climate change, to develop AI models for healthcare, for example, and so on. So there is a track that is dedicated to AI for good, also to the development of an AI foundation. So we are going, I'm sure, to discuss about that during this roundtable, because it's really about the common goods, the public goods, the openness around artificial intelligence. Then you have another track that is about trust in AI. So it's really, you know, developing the metrics, the evaluation protocols, the testing environment for artificial intelligence system, defining also the threshold, looking at the cyber security associated with AI and so on. You have a track that is dedicated to innovation and copyright and culture in general. A track dedicated to governance of AI, international governance of AI. The last track is about the future of work. So what is the impact of AI on the world of work, and how are we able to establish a society dialogue around artificial intelligence that is, you know, accelerating the right deployment of AI in our companies. So all these topics we cannot do without international collaboration, and this topic is really, I mean, this Action Summit is really made for you, for the participant of the summit. So that's why there is a lot of different working groups for the different tracks of the summit, in order to be sure that the deliverables of the summit are, you know, relevant for your needs, your day-to-day needs.
Thank you so much for this insight, and we will definitely come back to that. I have a few following questions. But for setting the stage, because we're saying from vision to action, and you basically said why we have an action summit and not a safety summit. So this is, you showed what was the thoughts behind this decision. I would like to ask you, Charlène, you know, what does it mean and what does it take to build a vision? You know, because in order to get into action, we need to really, and we have been, you know, focusing around this term of vision. Europe's need a vision. We need a vision, you know, positive vision, something we want to advocate for, not just something we fear. We need to like have a vision by ourselves, not just trying to copy someone, and etc., etc. If maybe, you know, we go into the definition of what it means to have a vision, would you mind sharing your thoughts about that?
Sure. So about visions, when we look at the main players on the AI industry, I'm going to start with China. China has had a vision for a very long time, and it's very clear and it's very efficiently laid out. They have a strategy for AI 2030, and their visions is twofold. National security, so what does that mean for China? It means developing technology without harming the kind of society that they want to promote. So a surveillance society, even if it means making sure that the technology foundation models are submitted to rather stringent, how do you say, censorship rules. And the second aspect of the vision is to become a leading and the leader against the US in China. So they have this extremely clear vision, and it's entirely aligned with what historically the Chinese society has been, with a very strong industrial bent. The US, well, They're the leaders, so they don't really need a vision. And they don't need a vision because they're already reaping all the benefits of having AI, the economic benefits. So, they're reaping the value, the growth, and just the sheer excitement of being the leaders of current technological progress. So their vision is very simple. It's not really a vision. It's to stay ahead, is to continue to be leaders. And maybe in terms of public policy and economic policy, well, we've just seen in the last 24 hours how that translates very aggressively. And we probably won't have time to talk about that, but we have heard about Trump wanting to annex Greenland. Well, what is in Greenland? It's rare earth. Now we have a $100 billion plan to build more data centers. I wasn't sure before that the US needed more, but apparently they need more. Well, they also need rare earth. That was in Biden's executive order to try to. So anyway, it's a very clear vision, and it's aggressive economically. It could be aggressive in other ways as well. And when I say we, I mean we are Europeans. We are in a much more delicate situation because we actually do need a vision, and we need a vision. A vision is a narrative. Is something that we can tell ourselves, that we can sell to our societies, that is productive in the sense of bringing a new imaginary of what the future is going to look like, that is enticing to people. And actually, one of the greatest obstacles to adoption of AI, especially in Europe, is fear. People fear for their jobs, and they don't understand what AI will bring. And one of the reasons is that they're using foreign software, mostly. They're not really seeing the benefits yet, because the software is foreign, and because it's still too early to see any benefit, except for maybe an increase in productivity, but it doesn't yet translate into alpha, like financially. And because we are not really selling them that vision. But then in terms of where we are practically, if we are formulating a vision, it has to be strongly tied to an economic policy that covers every segment of the AI value chain. Because one of the reasons why AI has been so beneficial to the US economy and to the Chinese economy is that when you look at Chinese and US actors, they all cover all the segments of the value chain, from hardware to AI apps. Of course, I mean, it would take me an hour to develop, but we have choices to make. But I think that's what a vision should be. Very clear economic choices, but subsumed to a higher narrative that actually brings hope and a coherent vision for a future.
Thank you, Charlene. And from what I heard, we'll need to cycle back on what the trade-offs are. Because, when we need to have a vision and a clear vision, we need trade-off, we need choices, and we cannot be good at everything. So I hope we'll manage to cycle back on that. We cannot be good at everything, but we do hope to stay good on the open source side, because as Amanda was saying, France is in the run when it comes to open source. We are doing great. We are not doing enough, but we are doing great. Alexander, I would like to hear you on that. Obviously, you, I believe, were at the initiative of this day. What were your hopes? What do you want to say to the community? What do you want to say to the summit? And how can we, make space for truly open source AI?
So we did this dedicated event to have the opportunity to have Guillaume taking a white paper and a pencil and taking notes of what I'm going to say now. It's a lot of effort, some cost.
But it's worth it.
But I don't know, because of course we believe that Guillaume is a powerful guy and things will happen, but we will see in 2 or 3 weeks. So what we expect, what is our hope? So we would like that this AI Action Summit will not be only a summit where the big tech and especially OpenAI, but not only them, but globally the big US players, will gather with the public decision maker. If we do that, we will go through this event, and it will be one more event for nothing. When I heard the announcement from our wonderful, because she is wonderful, digital minister, she spent, I mean, the first moment of her message on that. She was proud to have Sam Altman for the AI Action Summit. I think they need to be there. I mean, I'm not against the US players. I think US still part of this planet. I think they will count a little bit in the future, since we see that there are some announcements and so on. So, okay, let's manage AI also with them, no problem with that. And let's invite the rest of the planet. But it can't be from politics, as always, when there is a new laboratory that is going to open in Paris, let's say the one of Google, all politicians, they want to be on the picture, they want to be seen there, because I don't know why, but they think it's valuable for themselves. We should explain to them that it's absolutely not valuable. I mean, all the geeks, they don't believe that when they see a deputy, when they see a city mayor, when they see a president of region in the arm of Google, that it's something that is good for their career. I mean, they should see their own results when there is election. I mean, they go down, 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 down. They do something wrong, not only because they go and they embrace Google, Microsoft, a company, but also maybe because also of that. So let's be more maybe positive and let's share some ideas for the summit. Amanda said it. So France is a vibrant country for open source and for open source AI. So it's one of our key assets. We need to leverage that. I mean, we need to put that in front of the rest of the planet. I think that President Macron, Prime Minister, what's his name? It's a new one. François Bayrou. Yeah, So they must be proud of what makes France strong in AI. And what makes France strong in AI is all about the community, the leadership of some communities, our researchers, all the people that they were today during this event here at the Paris Open Source AI Summit. So the room was absolutely full today. You just see a part of the people this afternoon because we are not so good in marketing. I think we are good in open source AI, but we are not so good in marketing because we have done the second track and we have cannibalized the main track with the second track dedicated to Lucy. And so the other room is absolutely full of people, but now we have a little bit empty space in our main room. But believe me, it has been with a lot of attendants and a lot of people, they came, and that people, they matter. So we need to be proud of that. We need to put that like on the stage. We need to explain that to the rest of the world, and we need to build on that. Gilles Babinet was saying that we need to accept to have a different vision as a European. And we need to assume that. I do think that we should stop to follow at any cost the unique model from the US based on the unicorns, thinking that because you raise hundreds of millions of euros, you are going to become a new leader in digital area. It's not true. We see that all the day. We have done a presentation of Lucy. Lucy has been trained with absolutely amazing team from my company, from Linagora, but it's maybe 25 people that has been involved globally the last 2 years to train Lucy. I mean, it's a reasonable cost. Like I heard the Chinese model has been trained for 4.5 or 5.5 million of dollars, and it's as good as, let's say, Llama 3 or maybe GPT, and Lucy will be as good as GPT. So it's not true that we need so much of money to have a good model. What we need, first, we still need to have some strong and powerful resources to train the model. But I mean, the things that we have with Euro HPC, it's fine. We just need to go on to follow the investment and to give them more and more money, but not like we don't need 500 billion euro to do that. Second point, maybe according to me, is the most important because it's where we have the biggest lack for open source AI is about data sets. So no one can understand. So we have public administration everywhere in Europe. I mean, we are the continent of the public administration. When you are not from a public administration, you are something like a true alien, I mean, in Europe, from the private sector. So everything is public in Europe. But we are not able to find a way that all these public agencies, all this administration, put all together their data, and they have it. So it's not like more cost, it's just a question of how to manage that and how to organize the pool of data that we need to be able to train our models. And the third point is about skill. So we know that we have good skill, we have good engineers, we have good high schools and so on. So we need just to make it more attractive, we need to put on the stage the role models, and it's, so if we treat well the people, the engineers, they will be proud of what they do. But by the way, they are all proud of what they do, but we can do more, I mean, and we should take advantage of this AI summit to create more proudness for all of our engineers. That's why it's so important to have this mise en avant during the summit about the AI, the open source AI. And of course, maybe that's the last point, we need also to lead by example. And I mean, look, since this morning you are reading a direct translation based on and made with, but based on a solution called linto.ai, which is a French open source solution developed by Linagora. Yes, it's true, but it's a true digital common. It works. It's on production for the European Commission since many months now. So I'm still fighting for trying to convince someone from the summit to use Linto as an evil OTP instead of to use I don't know, a solution from Microsoft, for example. That's crazy. So, and of course, it can have a big impact for a company such as Linagora. If tomorrow, I don't know, some international leaders, they see that we can deliver such kind of solution.
Thank you so much, Alexander.
My wish list to pas Santa Clara, hein, c'était
Santa Claus.
You say Santa Clara this morning, Santa Claus.
So we kind of like circulated around the concept of vision, and thank you so much for sharing all of that. But action, in a sense, is also action about making business. And, you know, open source is also making business. There are two different kind of markets, but we want, and I believe this is why you also switch from safety to action, because the idea is how can we get into the real world of, you know, having companies and enterprise, you know, flourish, go into efficiency. You have, you know, efficiency calling for the AI Action Summit. So let's switch to the actual companies and how they thrive thanks to AI and the role of open source in that. You mentioned the fact that, you know, for a while we were all wishing for more unicorns, and counting the number of unicorns we had at home was basically a sign of how rich and powerful we were. I do believe this, let's say, religion is kind of shifting, and we are now maybe more focusing on what actually creates, creates riches in the country. How is a country, fostering? And I do believe we have a little bit to say about industries and, many more general companies. I'm not going to mention, but I do believe this is something we need to focus on. We always focus on startups and, on very, very big companies. Maybe a bit less on what we call in France ETI, what space do we have for them when they are the one, giving jobs to people, when they are the one, getting the country richer? And I believe that, action with them and action with industry is, and so then capacity to get AI within those companies, and it's far from being done to a certain extent, will be the key question. And even China and the US, US are kind of thinking, how can we get acceptability within those companies? And they are not quite done there yet. And this is something that no money can buy. So let's switch into that question. In shaping this future manifesto, I would like to hear Romaric and Paul on the question of the industry. Maybe, Romaric, you can start on how is open source, why is open source for industry and by the industry important? And why do we need to highlight that in the forthcoming summit?
Okay. So yeah, I think I can take this question because I have a kind of a double hat. I'm currently working as an academic. I'm learning what it is to be an academic. But I did most of my career in Airbus, working on the roadmap for artificial intelligence. And yeah, first of all, AI for industries is, for big industries such as Airbus, but it's also the case for Thales, for many of our big French industries, not only in aerospace, but in automotive and other important sectors. Is not completely new. We are discussing a lot today, for sure, generative AI on mostly what comes with a large language model. I want to step back a bit because for industry, there is already a lot of value that could be created by good old-fashioned AI, which is changing. The perimeter of what we call good old-fashioned AI is evolving over time. What we do with deep learning only seems sometimes good old-fashioned AI now, because, yeah, we do a lot with symbolic AI still, with machine learning and deep learning models. And one of the challenges for adoption of AI in industry is the topic of trust, which is one of the topics of the summit. And I would not oppose trust on value creation, especially when I speak about industry, because to create the value for industry, you need trust in the results. And it's even a paramount if we think about aeronautics, defense, mobility, and also other sectors such as health, environment. If you do meteorological prediction using AI and you do crap, it's also a problem. So for all these sectors, the key question is how to build trustworthy AI. And inside INITY, which is one of the 9 AI clusters, we've already had a quite successful track on building trustworthy AI methods. Not for generative AI, but one of our flagship demonstrators is if you want to use a CNN, a convolutional neural network, to detect a runway for an aircraft, you want to make sure you do it in the right way. And for that, you need to develop specific methods to ensure that you have the sufficient level of robustness, that you can explain why you detect it as a runway and not as a motorway. And so we had a project which was fully open source, which delivered open source libraries. And then I will link to Paul, because we have a collaboration on how you get from software libraries to really a complete environment, and I will leave it to Paul. But the first point is building trust on specific use cases, on building methods that can scale to address the rule-making in terms of ensuring we have the right level of safety. Because, of course, if we take AI in aircraft, in cars, we want to make sure that the AI is going to do what it should do and only what it should do. And this is regulated. It's regulated by the AI Act. It's also regulated by sectorial regulation which are put in place, for example, for aeronautics, ensuring trustworthy AI. So this regulation will call for demonstration for explainability, robustness, uncertainty management, and so on. And we have built, as an open source community, as an open source AI community, we've built tools that are answering these objectives. So these tools, we want them to be open source because they will be used as means of compliance to answer some regulatory objective. So it's really important that anybody can use these tools and that they are widely distributed and available to answer the regulation on associated standards. So this is what Anity has been quite successful as doing with the DEAL project. And now the way to the summit, and linked to all the discussions we have had so far, is really how we build these trustworthy AI tools, not only for good old-fashioned AI, but still we need to scale for a number of use cases there, but also we need to move to generative AI. And for that, we are launching a project which was presented in the parallel workshop, which is 4. And we are also, and I will leave it to Paul, we are also continuing the close collaboration with Confiance.ai project, which was a success, which was managed by IRT, and which we will still develop even to the European level, but I leave it to Paul.
Thank you, Romaric. Indeed, Paul. And you were mentioning trust quite a few times, and this is a thing, trust, like love, may be one of the few things you cannot force into people, and that's something that might be even the hardest thing to create. So the only way to create that trust seems to, well, get the people to experience it and, just get accustomed to it, but also, giving transparency and openness and acceptance. And to a certain extent, this is why also people are pushing for open source, because open source also goes with explainability to a certain extent, with transparency. And this is what can create trust. And people using the AI are people being more efficient, are businesses working better. So, we can create a very virtuous circle. Paul, would you mind maybe, bouncing back on what was saying Romaric, and just highlighting the importance of a collective strategy with the very concrete example of the role of AI clusters and the tech bricks that you managed to create together. And if you can, insist on real concrete examples, what are those tech bricks? And it's okay if you are not, going around all of them, but if you can pick maybe 1, 2, or 3 that really mean something, so we can, see what was built.
Okay, sure. So I fully align with Romaric. I think nowadays AI almost replaced the good old software term. So, of course, we have a lot of industries that have software engineering teams and methods, and for years. And what's happening today is that AI is just bouncing into these engineering teams, and we need to develop new method, new way to handle this complexity, this safety, and so on. And one of the main reasons why we choose to use open source also was because of the strong belief that these engineering methods needs to be shared across several industries, and we shall not invent aeronautic methods methods, automotive methods, manufacturing methods, but they should share a common ground. Alexander mentioned the common goods. I think it's a good term. And so open source really helps having this shared vision from several sectors. If we take a few illustrations from what we've done with these several industries, Romaric mentioned the runaway detection from Airbus. We have also worked with Valeo on obstacle detection, on autonomous car use cases. We have several use cases on computer vision from satellite detection for a couple of object from Thales. We have several industrial applications from this site, and they all share the same methodology. They all share let's say 15 or 20 open source technological bricks that are today used for time series anomaly detection, which are used for image generation. And moreover, this methodology and this software, we have also developed a course together with Centrale Supélec XZ in order to help companies to deploy and to get the best of this methodology in their companies, and we are currently launching a startup from the program, Stefan AI, and what is very the news we can talk about today is about the fact that we've been selected for the convergence challenge in the frame of the summit, and this convergence challenge helps us to advertise about and promote this methodology and this software component at European level, and we are about to launch a foundation that will help us to scale, as Romaric said, and hopefully see this methodology reused in several sectors at international level.
Thank you. We are turning now to the, I would say, the second or last part of the discussion. We still have quite some time, but I would like for us now to, start a real discussion and maybe bounce back at each other a bit more than what we've been doing. So, from vision to action, again, we want to, what is a vision? What does it mean? What are the requirements for the open source ecosystem? And what does it mean for the industry to have, a say in that summit? Guillaume, when you hear all of that, to what extent does it align with what's already planned? From what I've heard, there is quite a long day, and you are really focusing on business much more than any other summit I've done before. So I think there are quite some space for that, but could you maybe let us know a bit more about it? And what is still lacking? Because of course, you as organizers cannot handle all of that by yourself. What do you still need from the community on open source, but on the business in general? What can people keep providing for the summit, but after? And short answers, because for each of you, I will try to have short answers so we can bounce back.
Oops. I have many things to say, but first I wanted to say that I totally agree with what I've been saying, so it's very interesting, and I will go back to that, but okay, there is the Action Summit, but it has been announced by the Prime Minister. We are also launching the third phase of the National Strategy for AI, so we are working on it at the moment, and so I would be very interesting to have ideas at the end of this roundtable, so what we have to do in this third phase of the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. But first, I wanted to react on change this notion of change the narrative. And I think it's very, very interesting, because when we look at these $500 billion that have been that are invested in this computing initiative in the US, in fact, it's US money to buy US component and Japanese money to buy Japanese component, because ARM is a company that belongs to SoftBank. So basically, it's money that is circulating to the same people. So for France, absolutely no impact. So we should, what is important is to look what is entering and what is, leaving the country, the commercial balance and everything. But when US money is used for US component, I mean, it's not a topic for us. It has absolutely no impact on our society, on our commercial balance, and so on. So what we have to be sure is that when we use French money, it's used for French component or European component, European companies, and so on. And so that is the most important point, is to look at what is happening in Europe and what is done with our money. And if the money used to buy, AI models that are coming from the US or China, it's a problem, right? Because it's degrading the commercial balance, and we are not innovating. So really, let's not focus on what is happening in the US with US money for US things, and let's try to focus on what is happening in France. That was the first thing. And regarding the narrative and the choices we have to make, it's exactly the same thing. So basically, at one moment in Europe, autonomous cars were very important, because Google cars were investing a lot. A lot of things were happening in the US, and so yet there were also this influence. We have to do autonomous cars in Europe. Then it was not that the most fashion thing happening in AI. People were starting talking about generative AI for text, for example, and so autonomous cars were not the most important thing. And then you have Waymo in the US, and in San Francisco, for those who have been there recently, you can find many autonomous taxi in the street. And so now autonomous cars are again something that is very strategic, very important for Europe and everything. So basically, all the European vision on almost everything is based on what is happening in the US, and we have to stop to think like that. If we think autonomous cars is something that is important, let's not change our opinion just because the opinion is changing in the US. So that, I think, we have to have a clear narrative, a clear vision, and not change it every morning because someone else in the world is thinking or saying something else. That's the second opinion. Third one is what you were saying, both Paul and
Romaric.
Romaric. I was saying Emmerich. Sorry about that, Romaric. So there is indeed in the national strategy for AI, you have what is the work that is ongoing at Anity. You have the work in Confiance AI, Deep Green. You have seen a presentation from Yann Lechel from Probable and Scikit-learn during this event. You have in the testing and experimentation facilities for AI, that is a European initiative where, for example, the ERT is participating. All the tools, metrics, evaluation protocol, testing environments that are developed are also open source. So basically, the national strategy for AI is really based on this basis opinion that open source is mandatory if we want to be able to efficiently develop and deploy artificial intelligence system. It's an organization that is not the same as the one that is happening in the US or China. And if you see the concentration of richness in the US associated with the digital world, like I think 95% of the richness is belonging to 1% of the population. We are just speaking about the fact that the national income or the European income is, decreasing in comparison with the US one, but the difference between the rich and the poor in the US is catastrophic at the moment. So basically, in a political point of view, when we are able to say, okay, we are developing common goods that are benefiting France, Europe, and the whole world, it's also something that is, I think, very interesting for the people that are concerned with the way we are developing and deploying artificial intelligence systems. And the last, and it's very important for diffusion. My answer is very, too long. But two last things. Diffusion. Open source is mandatory for diffusion of AI in our companies. We have been there. We are testing open source tools that we take in the internet, and we test them, and we see if it's feasible in a technical point of view. And then we start, a big project to transform our production line and everything. So open source is the best way to accelerate diffusion. And the diffusion of AI is the title of the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. So, of course, open source is mandatory. Last thing to say for you, Alexandre, you have in Germany, for example, OpenGPT X. When are we going to see a collaboration at a European level regarding the development of this generative AI model, or all the AI models we need to answer the needs of European companies and society?
And just something was mentioned, and maybe that's what you want to bounce back, and then I really want to have John's opinion, but someone earlier mentioned an AI bus. After the Airbus, an AI bus. So I believe this is kind of what you are asking for.
I don't think that we need to do AI, Airbus of AI, by the way. But to answer to Guillaume, so today we had our counterpart from Spain that was here. And we have invited some others, Silo, for example, also to join the event. And so it was not possible for them. But one of the aims that we have with OpenLLM Europe is to create this network and this community at the European level. And I think it should be leveraged by the public sector, and we should be encouraged and maybe more helped to do that. Just to, I would like just to follow up what you said, Guillaume, because you mentioned the national strategy of AI, and I think it's absolutely a good point. We should not, complain too much. If things work in our country, it's also because a lot of things has been done up to now. And this event, the community OpenLLM France, are directly outputs from this national strategy. The OpenLLM France, I think we need to repeat it, it's more than 900 researchers that they work all together based on this Discord. And we will not have been never able to deliver Lucy if we didn't get this community of OpenLLM France. We have worked with the support of people from IDRIS, from Gency, from L'Oréal. I'm not going to from the X, the Polytechnic Laboratory. I mean, dozens of public laboratories have been involved in the training of Lucy. And so it works. We need to move on. We need to push forward. Of course, I think each generation of plan must be multiplied by 10 or by 100 because we need to accelerate. The competition is here, but we should. One of the things that we need also to develop, Gilles said that we don't need to be to fear, to be afraid again or something like that. He said
we need to take risks.
Yeah, and we need to take risks. And I think we need to find again enthusiasm. Maybe one of the things that lack the most in Europe and in France, especially because of all the institutional, let's say, games that we have in our country. So it's enthusiasm, and and one of the reasons we wanted also to organize this event, it was because of that. We need to restart this enthusiasm. I can tell you that anyone involved in Lucy has not lost his enthusiasm the last months. I mean, and we are absolutely excited. And just for your information, we have already a startup that uses Lucy. So we released it last week, and one startup took Lucy and make a new model of 1.5, not mega, but million of?
Billion of parameters.
Billions of parameters, yes, it was the B. I was looking for what means the B. Billions of parameters. So now we can have Lucy on a direct smartphone. More than 500 people, they have already tested the Lucy.chat since we released it at Nous. So it works. I mean, there is something that has started and goes in the right direction.
Thank you, Alexander. And I think when you mentioned the fact that we need positivity, it definitely bounces back to what was saying Charles. And we need a narrative, because a narrative gives people, energy and strength and desire to move forward. This is why, Charles, I would like to hear back from you and maybe introduce a tiny bit of controversy. I don't know. I'm just asking the question because Guillaume, and very rightly, you were mentioning the fact that, Trump is basically, like recycling the money and just making sure that things turn and create values, and to a certain extent, it's good that remember that. But from a geopolitical standpoint, and when it comes to so he recycled the money, but what about people using the product that will be, made out of that? That's a whole other question, and that's also a geopolitical question. And this is what I would like to hear you on, Charlene, especially since we mentioned quite a lot of the United States in the beginning of this roundtable. We said little about China, but China is in the race, and to a certain extent, China is really far in it. So I would like to hear your opinion about it.
Yeah, and it's not only from a geopolitical standpoint. I think there's also an economic consequences of just investing $500 billion in your own economy. And one of the risks that we are increasingly looking at Moody's is related to what we call US decoupling. And so, in other terms, it's the cost of innovation lag for the rest of the world. And of course, we are not the only one who have said that. I mean, there's the Draghi report has been pretty explicit about it. But if we take that hypothesis seriously, if we take seriously the idea that our lag in technological innovation has costed us a significant share of our contribution to the world GDP, then what the US is doing absolutely concerns us, because the more they decouple from the rest of the world, the more likely Europe is to continue, and the rest of the world is to continue to lose that kind of importance in terms of just economic growth and power. And that, well, then, has consequences for everything, across the whole society. And this is why, of course, it doesn't mean that we have to follow, that Europe has to follow a similar model. And I don't think it should, if you're asking for my personal opinion. And Gilles was right to say that we have to be innovative, even in the strategy that we propose. But it means that we have to find new buckets of innovation and truly invest in them. Just because not innovating has a cost. And about open source, I think everybody agrees here that it's one of the key strategy for the EU. But one of the things that we've also been witnessing when we analyzed the whole AI ecosystem, one of the things that proprietary models are doing, and so that big tech is doing with AI, is that, especially now that, and you mentioned that the model performance are kind of converging, so everybody is kind of reaching similar performances. So the thing that proprietary models are doing is that they're building new functionalities to make their model more user-friendly and to make it easier for companies, for businesses to just integrate AI into their workflows. And this is something open source is not doing. Open source is great at building super efficient models, and sometimes, as you said, even more efficient models and trustworthy models, but it's not the same thing to build all that and to build a UI, a user interface that's actually, and so this is another area where having a more structured offer could actually be, we're talking about, action, could actually have positive consequences for adoption.
Thank you. And when you mention a more structured offer, are we getting to the trades-off question? Is this also, kind of what you mean? And I would like to hear back about that from Paul and Romeric, because you are, in the middle of the ecosystem. And we mentioned that during the preparatory call, but, if we were to advocate for something, being the first main emergency, because again, we cannot have it all. We cannot have an AI that is at the same time, super strong and nice, super French, but international as well. You see what I mean? So if you were, from your perspective, to ask and wish for something, but with the trade-off that goes with it, what would be that wish for the AI Action Summit? In a short sentence, so we can turn back to the audience for a little Q&A.
I start? My personal wish, our beliefs, is that we have a fantastic differentiator in France and in Europe, is we have world champions in the industry, energy, defense, mobility, transport, and these guys, they own their data. They have, I often hear a kind of narrative, to take your word, that says, these companies, they don't innovate enough. I think we have to stop making this kind of assertion, which is not true. We have world leaders in industry, and they are capable to deploy innovative product if we manage to provide them with a frame, a common frame to deploy these AI
maybe
systems.
To get towards them, maybe to just address them, because sometimes it's easier to address startups and big,
right.
companies than actually getting into the territories, like French departments,
Right.
European departments. Sometimes it's harder, and we are here in Paris, but a lot of things happen on the territories, and this is, I do believe, the strength we need to go and collect. And sometimes it's hard as a government, to
Absolutely.
do that, because so many people come towards you that you just have to pick. But the people who come towards you most of the time are not those people. So how do we, get to them? I think that's a huge question. So,
and yeah. I can witness that many of these companies, they have hundreds of proof of concept in everywhere in the world, and that in many countries they are compared to the very best of the bread in every country. So we shall not be shy about this differentiator, and if we manage to build this frame at the application level for critical system, that will be my
your wish.
Yeah.
Perfect. Romaric, do you have a wish?
Yeah, it's a complementary wish. In fact, I think we made good progress on this aspect mentioned on ensuring we can use AI for our industries and for critical systems. The next step is critical processes, which means generative AI has proven to be very efficient to improve productivity of our industries, or not only our industries. By the way, you mentioned ETI, I mean small and medium enterprise and so on. So there is really an opportunity for using generative AI to improve productivity, and it's already on its way. But for what I call critical processes, which means processes where it's very important to get the good result, but also to know how the result has been obtained. So far, we still cannot use generative AI for critical processes. And this is something we need to unlock, and I think this is the good, this is where we also on our side within Anity, we work with Linagora. I mean, this aspect of building up Lucy is one attempt to create a complete understanding to doing truly open source AI and having the complete control. And this will bring back trust, so that's one of the aspects, one way of doing it. Also, we need to build all this trustworthy, we need to better understand how large language models are working, and we still need more research for that, because it seems they are so good at memorizing that we believe they do reasoning, but sometimes they really do error that no one would have expect. So really, we really need to further understand the limitation of large language model, and it's also one of the topics for which we have a convergence challenge for the AI Action Summit, where we are working together with several AI clusters to build it, to set it up. But my wish is really, unlocking the capacity of using generative AI for these critical processes, and indeed ensuring it is available for the large industry, for smaller industry, and more generally for the public, that we can leverage that further, of course, because even for private use, we would be much more happy if we would have some guarantees on results provided by generative AI.
And I'm pretty sure that is also already part of the program of the research days ahead of the diplomatical summit. We need more mathematicians to crack the code and get the AI a bit more explainable. Let's turn to the audience. Do people have questions for our speakers?
Il y a Bruno Maisonnier là qui a jamais sa langue dans sa poche, qui va dire quelque chose. Ah voilà, c'est le jeune homme avec les cheveux blancs là. Mais présentez-vous parce que tout le monde ne vous connaît pas nécessairement là.
Hi everyone, I'm Bruno Maisonnier. I was the former CEO and founder of Aldebaran Robotics, the humanoid robots now on paper, and now I founded a company called Another Brain, and we are creating a new AI based on how the brain is working. So it's a totally different approach. So I have a question, not direct, but we are all very optimistic. We want to get back enthusiasm. We have great labs, great company. I heard a lot of positive things, but we are failing. We are failing in AI as we failed. Oh, I have white hair, so I remember. As we failed, you know this comparison between Minitel and PC, and then internet, and then robotics, and then, so that means there is a pattern. There is hidden parameters, something that is hidden in our way of processing altogether that is making us failing. And there are real reasons. So the question is, if we don't know which one, we all know that we are going to fail in AI too, and in quantum computing tomorrow, and we are failing. If we look at Europe, altogether, 20 years ago, among the 16 main areas of businesses, economic businesses, we were leading 7 of them. Now we are leading 2 of them. We are altogether failing. So my question is why? What is hidden? And if we don't know that, we know the result.
Do we have another question? Yes, Amanda.
I just want to add to what the gentleman said. I don't think we failed as innovators. So I also have grey hair, and I was around in the dot-com boom 30 years ago. And we made laws and we made policies which were focused on a world that doesn't exist anymore. We didn't have a crystal ball, and we didn't understand where it was going. We didn't understand social media and what was coming down the line. And we could not have known that our technology would end up in the hands of these 8 big companies. We just didn't understand it. And if we did, it wouldn't have been allowed to happen. It's really simple. But now we do know, and I think the question could be framed slightly differently. We're successful innovators. How do we make our innovation successful for our countries and for Europe?
Let's take maybe 2 other questions. Let's take another question, let's answer, and let's take then another round of questions.
Maybe I have a suggestion, perhaps, before a question. Just like TikTok went viral, not because of its algorithms, but because people started using it. How about letting those ETIs that we are talking about use those wonderful supercomputers that France and Europe has been able to make, Adastra, Jay-Z, you know those. Why not give it to them and let them have a go at it so that there is this, snowball effect? And the second question is, when can we, as just normal people, have that access that the governments already do? Those perfect conditions that are happening for the governments to use the data, to use those technology, at what time those floodgates open, like they did in the US and in China?
I think we could start by getting some answers, and especially on what the man with white hair mentioned, Bruno, what is, you basically say that we are failing in AI. I mean, I would like to know what kind of AI we're talking about, because AI is such a wild field that maybe we're failing on one AI, but not failing on the others. But, that's maybe a too specified question. But, so far, seems like we are failing. We are missing the train, according to what you're saying.
I do not agree with you, Bruno. I'm sorry. I think you have failed maybe as an entrepreneur because you raised money and you sold your company and your wonderful robots are no more yours. And of course, every day you wake up and you think, oh gosh, my wonderful Aldebarans, what they became and so on. But believe me, I started Linagora 25 years ago. I was just a student from absolutely normal family. I mean, how do you say, élève boursier? Enfin, without the public money from the government, I was not able to do my education. So I came absolutely from the ground. I mean, and believe me, I don't share the same point of view as a entrepreneur journey. And that's maybe why you hear from me more optimism than maybe some of the speeches that you can hear from entrepreneurs. And I'm going to answer you a little bit more seriously, Bruno. I think the model of, the idea to reproduce the model of financement for digital and everything related to tech, so to reproduce the same model as the US, with the hope that at the end of the day, we will be able in Europe to create unicorns, I think this model doesn't work. And I think it's a mistake to think that Europe needs this model. I don't know who has, yes, I know who has put this idea in the mind of journalists and politicians. The only one who need this model are VCs, because they are the only one who get money in this model. And in any case, they always win money, even if entrepreneurs, they failed. But it doesn't fit for Europe, and we don't need that. Europe must be a sustainable continent with a lot of small, medium, and some large tech companies. And that's enough. We don't need monopolies in Europe or oligopolies. I don't want Europe that will be like the US. We don't need Elon Musk in Europe. I'm sorry, but personally, I have nothing against this, I think, brilliant engineer who is Elon Musk. But there is only one, and it's more than enough. I mean, it's for the whole planet. Is US? Fine. By the way, we don't know if he's from the US, from South Africa. Maybe he wants to be involved in, like a new German citizen. Who knows what this guy wants? I mean, but it's not a sustainable model. We don't need Microsoft. It's not a question of size, Bruno. I don't know why. I think it's a dream for men, you know, as always. To have the biggest company, the most powerful company, but who need that? I want to have a social life, a citizen life, a society life where we can, love each other, be happy, eat well, practicing sport, traveling everywhere in the world. There is something else to do in our life, in the world, on this planet, just to build monopolies. No?
Maybe if I don't know if it will be a controversial answer or not, but what do you think, Guillaume, about this?
So in fact, I kind of agree with Alexandre. I think part of the reason why we are not, if we are not failing, we are not succeeding enough, is because we are playing a game that is not our game. So I kind of agree. So basically, we do not have the same pension funds than in the US. So we do not have the same capital organization than in the US. And we are trying to use KPIs to see if we are successful or not, that are the KPI of the US. So I am raising money or not. And are we making benefits it's not even on the table anymore. Like it should be like if we want to have a sustainable AI ecosystem in Europe, we should be looking forward benefit. And if we look for benefit, it means we have customers. And so it's really, I think, we have to move from the idea that for example, the national strategy for AI is about developing AI system to export AI system, and it should be about developing AI system to deploying AI system in our companies, all our CAC 40 companies that are exporting products that are not AI products. They are different kind of product, but these products are made with AI. And if the GDP, the part of the global GDP coming from Europe is decreasing, it's not really because we are not exporting enough AI models. It's because we are not exporting anything anymore. So we have to find a way to export more of everything if we want to have a more important part of the global GDP. And to do that, we have to look for the need. What are we looking for? What are the kind of AI models our companies need in order to be able to be competitive in the exportation of all the different kind of products that are existing? So it's really, changing from the commerce, the business of AI to the business with AI. I think that would be the spirit that would help us really, improve our way of doing things. And I think there are many axes for improvement. We are not collaborating not at a European. We speak about Europe, but there is a lot of competition within Europe. And competition is good also. But we should be able to find the right partnership between our different industrial. For example, the partnership between SAP and Mistral. I think it's something that is very good. Germany that is deploying French models is a good news, and we should look for this kind of partnership more in order to be able to be competitive at an international level. And I think the last thing is that we are not playing with the same rules as our competitors. In the US, 15% of the public purchase is done only for innovation, only to help the strategy, the development strategy of the startups. And in France and Europe, we do not want to use a public purchase for that and so on. And the state is the biggest purchaser of AI models. So, we should be playing with the same tools that we have. And we could have a huge impact on to improve this situation that Europe is at the moment in the digital world.
We have, no time left, but we're gonna take 1 minute. This is why I'm asking you to be fast, because we need to answer the rest of the question, otherwise it would be rude. Please, on the question of Amanda and the question of the lady on my right, who wants to give a short answer so we can close this discussion? Charlene, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to thank Amanda, the lady in red, for courageously bringing up the question of regulations, which we haven't addressed yet. I'm not going to do it so briefly, but in fact, I think the kind of regulation that is now governing AI in Europe, the AI Act, is, let's say, no one else is going to follow the path of the AI Act for many different reasons. But I cannot even pronounce myself on it, but what I wanted to say is that this is a topic to interrogate, and I would be curious to hear from market participants in the open source community what you make of it. But what we have seen comparing the AI Act with other jurisdictions elsewhere, that we worry that it could be costly in terms of competitiveness.
Okay, and maybe on the last question, just someone wants to bounce back on that, but we really have no time left, and the clock is ticking, and we have still one discussion, small discussion to go, and then a cocktail that no one wants to miss. Maybe who wants to answer? Maybe Guillaume, do you want to answer very quickly on when, if I remember correctly, when could the larger society and companies have access to the similar data and computing power that the government has? That's, I believe, was your question? Basically the question was, when will companies and the broader ecosystem have access to?
Yeah, maybe I will try an answers. In fact, Europe is doing a lot regarding that. We have Euro HPC to have access to supercomputing facilities. It's accessible to private companies. In France, we have Janzé, and I think half of the accesses to Janzé are from private companies. And we are going to have a libre in 2026 that is going to be our exascale, and it's going to be with the same access rules, so it will be for private companies and for public laboratories. Same thing for data. France is coordinating the main initiative at the European level regarding gathering data to train large language models and so on. It's called ALTEDIC, and it's at a national level it's working with INA, BNF, and so on, so that we can gather the right data set in order to make sure that the LLMs that are deployed are working for our languages in Europe, and in particular for Lucy in fact, I don't know, Lucy, what are the languages covered, but yeah, at least in France, of course. And so there is a lot of initiative like that, and when we do that, we do it not just for public laboratories. It's really definitely in order to also help the startup and the big companies in Europe to increase their competitiveness and have access to the best resources for AI. So am I answering the question? Yeah.
I think we can mention the AI Factory initiative from Europe too. And just to rebound on the AI Act, I was at a roundtable with, I think it was a Giscard startup guy recently, and he mentioned that in the US there are 50 states. Each of these states have their own regulation, and they apply basically the AI Act, but in several different ways. So it means that for companies in the US, they have to verify that they are compliant with 756 regulatory. So that's not that easy to say that AI Act is not the way to go. I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Give them a big round of applause.
No, I was telling to you that because one person was absolutely motivated to ask a question.
You want to have one last
I would
question?
not like that we say no, and I think we have 5 more minutes. I mean,
I wouldn't say 5 because I have like one clock ticking here, one clock stop here. But we can take one last question for sure.
It was the lady on the left.
That is true. She was really motivated. Yeah. Thank you, Alexander.
Sorry, but at this point, I'm not even sure to which extent it's relevant, but whatever, I got a chance, so I'll speak up. We all know that a lot of open source projects were nurtured by public research institutions. They came from there, and people employed full-time by these institutions are still working on them. And so my question is, since multiple times it has been mentioned throughout the day that we need to treat our talent better, we need to retain our talent. So my question would be the following. What policies can be concretely implemented for these people to stay in these public institutions so that they can continue working on strategic projects? And today, open source is a strategic project for the EU in France, because it hurts me to say it, but time and time again, I've been having this conversation with these people who are brilliant and hardworking, and they say, I can't even get a mortgage, I can't plan a family. And so how is that treating them well? So my question is there anything on the table, anything on the agenda of policymakers to make this maybe a bit easier on them so that they don't slip down the proprietary road?
I think that the question of talents, and I think talent is on the agenda of the AI Summit, but I mean...
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and in fact an hard question, because it's different kind of initiative that would help with maintaining the talent in Europe and also attracting new talent in Europe. So, for example, we have initiative regarding attracting professors in the AI clusters, these hubs in France dedicated to excellence in AI training and research. And so there is an initiative that he called Choose France, that is dedicated to attracting these people. You also have an initiative on the visa, in order to, and the welcoming package, in order to simplify the invitation, the welcoming of new talents in France. I think it has a lot to do with when we are on the research side of the story. We need also to be attractive regarding the infrastructure that are set up. So we need to be able to have the right computing facility, access to data, and in particular specific data. I mean, when an expert in a specific topic in biology and so on is considering moving to another country, it is because it will do good research, because it has access to, for example, data that are not accessible in his or her own country. So it's also infrastructure that is a part of the topic, and we know that the salary, even if we Choose France, so we are able to paid a little more than what the constraint we have in the public universities, but I mean it has nothing to do with the salary that they could get in the US. The life is not the same. They will not pay for their children, except they want, or they will not pay for their social security, except they want. So in fact, the society is not the same. So the salary is not the same. But I mean, in the end, you have this different kind of initiative to be able to try to attract them and maintain them in France. And there is another part of the answer. Sorry, but it's just to say, it's also good to send our talents in the big tech companies, and with the condition that we are able to, bring them back to France in the end. But we have seen that. We have seen that in many of the startups that are developing AI system at the moment. A huge part, and I'm sure at Linagora you have people coming from big tech companies also. They are coming with their experience, they are coming with their use at scale of supercomputing facilities. So in fact it's interesting to have this kind of movement of talents between different impact, high quality companies. But yeah, with the condition that we're able to bring them back.
Thank you, Guillaume. And for the one who were there for the demonstration of Lucy, we can say that we might not have the same salaries, but we have tarte tatin. Let's give them a big round of applause, and let's end here this journey.